Homeowners' expectations of sale value are way off.
If you bought a property at a high price, you would have been better off maybe renting.
It would seem that most people are expecting something like 10% return on their property every year. It's not going to happen.
A man's home is his castle, but according to the Reserve Bank's Perth figures, you could be better off living in someone else's castle.
I don't think we as homeowners actually and investors take into the true account of how much it costs.
A report from the RBA revealed for 60 years owning a home in Perth was generally cheaper than renting. But for the past decade, properties here have more than doubled. And their research shows those who bought at the height of the boom have gone backwards compared to those who decided to rent. They'll have to wait another 30 years before their investment becomes cheaper than renting.
Some people say you waste money by renting, but you're wasting money by paying high interest constantly on your property.
Ahead of the times, property investor Sandy Anderson realised Perth's market was shifting 18 months ago. So she sold her 3x2 home in Como with a mortgage of $450,000 to rent someone else's home instead. The true cost of Sandy living in her own home was $875 a week. That included her mortgage, insurance, rates and repairs. But if she was to rent the same place, she'd pay $550 a week and save more than $300 a week, or more than $15,500 a year.
My rent that I'm paying now is not equivalent to the interest, and my property wasn't growing above the interest that I was paying. And, you know, when you're making an investment, you've got to get a return on it in the end.
Sandy says property owners and investors should fluctuate with the market just like shares.
So if you've got shares in oil and gas, maybe that's going off and you move to mining where gold's going up. You know, there's no reason why you shouldn't do that with your property decisions too.
She now shares the rent at this 4x2 in Bateman for just $260 a week, while she invests her savings in a term deposit until the property market shifts again.
And it's better to rent at this particular point in time for around about 2 to 3 years. Long term, we'll look to purchase again.
If you buy at the top of any cycle, you're going to have to wait longer for growth than if you bought at the bottom of the cycle.
David Airy from the Real Estate Institute of Western Australia agrees it's a great time to rent with more than 6,000 properties on the market, but he says he's seen it all before. The RBA's report means it's just another cycle in the property market.
If you've bought a property at the top of the market, for example, probably 2010, 2011, you're probably only now enjoying some capital growth. Whereas if you bought in 06 or 07, that's been a very good period to own property.
And David says owning your own home in Perth is still a strong investment.
The market in the last year has grown 6%. Well, that's far better than putting money into rent.
And he says buying will always win over renting.
Buying will always be the best option in the long term because it's how wealth is created, through the ownership of property and capital growth.
Consider all your options, and if you are going to sell and then rent, make sure that any money you have in your equity, that you're investing it wisely.